Good morning. In his inaugural address of 1963, the Governor George Wallace said probably the most well-known, most racist statement of all time. If you're not familiar with George Wallace, I realize I'm probably dating myself, but this was 1963. But look it up. You've probably heard it or seen a video clip, but here's what he said. He said, "In the name of the greatest people that have ever trod this earth," I'm assuming he's talking about himself or the white race. He says, "I draw the line in the dust and toss the gauntlet before the feet of tyranny. And I say," and here's the part you've probably heard, "segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever." And you can just hear it in this southern Alabama accent. And I wanted to use that to talk about something that I just learned recently and some things that have been going on here at our church. But it's a normal human reaction, I think, for us to segregate ourselves. Not a good part of our human nature, I should say. And I also think that we're all sinners by nature, and that's what happens to us. But we seem to draw up these lines of division everywhere. Sometimes it's just across genders, males and females, or oftentimes, as in this case, it's race. Sometimes it's religion, which this person's a different religion from me. Often it's politics, and along with race is language. We divide along the lines of how educated you are, what's your financial background, were you rich or poor, whatever. We have multiple ways that we try to divide ourselves, or at least in our thinking we do that. We wouldn't want to do it openly. But I want to suggest to you that when we emphasize in our own mind, and sometimes visibly, those differences, that Satan and evil are winning in the world. I want to tell you what I mean by that a little bit today. When we see others as different from us, there's something in us that is eager to turn away or push them away or separate ourselves somehow. Things that we don't like or things that are different. So what I want to challenge us is that we have to be proactive in recognizing those emotions about ourselves, regardless of what the difference may be, and counteracting them and look for common ground. And I know that sounds cliche, but let me give you some things that, in ways in which every part of the human race is similar. We all live on this planet, first of all, so we're confined in this space, given it's a large space. All of humanity wonders what our purpose is, how we got here, what are we doing here, what are we supposed to be doing here. And just about every part of humanity experiences hardship of some kind, physical, financial, emotional, and everybody in humanity wants to avoid that pain as much as they can, whether it's physical or emotional. And really, that's why we need each other. One of the reasons we need to take this step that I'm going to challenge us with today. But it's really for a different day why we need each other. And another interesting part of humanity is that we all want to see future generations, our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, etc., prosper. And we are willing to endure pain and hardship to see this happen. So I want to read you a passage in Acts chapter 2. You're very familiar with this story, I'm sure, if you're familiar with the Bible at all. But it's after the resurrection of Jesus in Acts chapter 2, verse 5. It says this, "Now there were Jews staying in Jerusalem, though, there for the feast, devout people from every nation under heaven." Keep that part in mind. It says, when all of a sudden this sound occurred, I don't know what version it is I'm reading here, a crowd came together and was confused because each one heard them speaking in his own language. The disciples are up speaking, and everybody who's there from every nation under heaven hears the disciples speaking. It says they were astounded and amazed, saying, "Look, aren't all these who are speaking Galileans? How is it that each of us can hear them in our own native language?" They already realize that there are distinctions between them. Hey, I'm not from here, and he's a Galilean, and he's speaking his language. Why can I hear him in my own? And then it goes on to list, I think, like 15 different groups of people: Parthians, Medes, Elamites, Mesopotamians, Judea, Cappadocia. I'm not going to read them all for us today. But anyway, that's an occasion for you to get that passage in Acts chapter 2 there. And if you never used your Bible map, go ahead and use that. Here's your chance. You always wanted to do that. But in verse 11, as he's finishing the list of people, he says Cretans and Arabs. He says, "We hear them declaring the magnificent acts of God in our own tongues." Now, to me, this is an amazing sign that God wanted his people to be focused on his message and his thoughts rather than the differences between them. And think about this. If we believe that God is the creator of everything, this whole world that we all are confined in, including all nations and all these people, we have no business trying to divide ourselves into groups or to separate ourselves on multiple reasons. I think that's really a tool that Satan uses. Is, well, they're not like you, or they're different from you, and to try to create this kind of hatred, or even starting at something as simple as just a small difference between us. And I'm saying this today because we're seeing increasing diversity, especially here in America, and even here in Midwestern America, in our culture and in our churches. But I think we're also going to find increasing common ground. More and more churches I'm seeing and reading that are sharing their buildings with multicultural and multilingual congregations, the one that I'm part of included, in order to reach this increasingly diverse world. Because sometimes those outside the church will not have that same desire to draw together rather than to separate. Our goal should be the same, though, as Acts chapter 2 says, that we hear them declaring the magnificent acts of God in our own tongues. So I wanted to challenge you with that today, but I wanted to give you the part of the story that I didn't find out until just recently. You've probably heard the George Wallace phrase, segregation today to tomorrow forever. Interestingly enough, you probably didn't know this either, that George Wallace changed his mind on segregation. And he called those words that he said in 1963 his biggest mistake. And in a 1991 interview, they went back and interviewed George Wallace. He was still alive then. And what they took a poll, and what they found out was that 74% of blacks in Alabama regarded George Wallace as the best governor the state ever had after he changed his mind about that. He actually even received an honorary degree from Tuskegee University, the historically black school, Booker T. Washington, George Washington Carver. And Wallace said of that day, he said, "Blacks gave me a standing ovation when they put the cap and gown on me, and that was the proudest I've ever been." So think about that this morning. That phrase that even today is well known. The second part of the story is not that well known, that George Wallace changed his mind and became actually the best governor the state had ever had in the mind of blacks. So if the most well-known racist in history can recognize his error, we can, and we should too. So I wanted to challenge you with that today. Let that sink in a little bit. And you really do have to meditate on that a while and think about what's going on there in Acts chapter 2. It's almost Easter Sunday. I'm hoping to come on again this week to give you a fuller version, but if you're not going to see that one, or I don't get a chance to come back, we're having breakfast here at New Horizons at 9. You're invited, and our service will be at our regular time at 10:15. As always, feel free to like, comment, share, ask questions about this video, and I'd love to get back to you. Until then, until I see you again, have a great day, and thanks for watching.